Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be reacting to
Complete summary of the Newjeans versus Ador second court hearing, June 5th.
All right, so here we are on June 5th, 2025, the day of the second hearing between Newjeans and Ador regarding the validity of their exclusive contract. And as expected, the girls didn't show up for the hearing, which isn't compulsory, by the way. But
Why would they show up for the hearing? It's attorney's job to show up. No, what they gonna do? That there's no expectations for them to show up whatsoever. It's like, did Banksy Hook show up for the hearing? Why would he show up?
no, but it's just to say it as a note.
Oh,
I
I
feel
feel
like
like the intent is to like put bad light on them because they didn't show up. She said, "Oh, which isn't compulsory, but then why even bring it up?"
if people wanted to know if they were there or not, because naturally people want to, oh, were they there?
Well, the point is they don't have to be there, and it's very uncommon to people involved in these lawsuits to physically be there. That's attorney's job. Attorneys show up. People involved actually don't show up unless they are being deposed. If they're being deposed, they have to show up. But if they're not, the fuck they gonna do there?
anyway, I'm going to do my best to summarize the whole case. At the heart of Newjeans' legal argument lies the concept of trust, which they claim has been irrevocably broken due to Ador's removal of their founding CEO and producer, Min-hee Jin. The group argues that Min-hee Jin was not just an executive but the creative and managerial pillar they sign with, and without her, Ador has transformed into an unrecognizable entity. I get it emotionally if you're an artist. You want to work with people you trust, people who get your vision. Losing that key figure can feel like a gut punch. But here's the cold truth. Companies change leaders all the time. That's business. When you sign a contract with a company, you're not signing with one person, you're signing with that whole organization. Courts have been very clear that a leadership change alone doesn't mean contracts are void. The court's position, supported by legal precedent, is that a change in leadership does not automatically void contracts unless there is concrete evidence that the change caused a breach of the agency's contractual obligations. This is a critical distinction that Newjeans' legal team has struggled to prove convincingly. Moreover, the trust Newjeans refers to must be measured against the actual management and financial conduct of Ador since Min-hee Jin's departure. Ador asserts it has continued to invest heavily in the group, fulfill all financial responsibilities, and protect their interests. The burden of proof lies with Newjeans to demonstrate that Ador's actions post-leadership change constituted a failure severe enough to justify contract termination. So far, the courts have found this evidence insufficient. Looking at the procedural history, the courts have so far sided predominantly with Ador. Early on, Newjeans attempted to promote independently under the new name NJZ, but Ador promptly sought and won an injunction preventing such activities. The Seoul Central District Court's March 2025 decision highlighted that Newjeans had not presented enough evidence to prove Ador breached contractual obligations, or that trust had broken irreparably. This injunction effectively paused Newjeans' independent activities and reinforced the agency's control during ongoing litigation. The court's further step in May 2025, approving Ador's request for indirect compulsory enforcement, was a clear message. The hefty penalty of 1 billion won per unauthorized activity per member is no small sum. It imposes serious financial risk on Newjeans if they defy the injunction. Newjeans' legal representatives have been very vocal about the complete collapse of trust and their refusal to entertain settlements. They argue that the agency failed to protect the group properly after Min-hee Jin's removal and that Ador's explanations about management have been vague or insufficient. Their narrative hinges on a deep personal and professional betrayal that they claim makes continued collaboration impossible. Additionally, Newjeans' rejection of settlement talks makes their position rigid and less pragmatic. Courts often encourage settlements to resolve disputes quickly and fairly. Newjeans' unwillingness to consider this pathway may work against them by painting them as inflexible and possibly unreasonable, which could influence judicial perspectives. In sum,
This
Newjeans have
person
framed the dispute
is,
emotionally.
are they like a attorney or like, what is their background?
They're a gossip channel, I think, but so far, I have not heard anything that happened today.
No.
We're halfway in the video. I don't know what the fuck we're talking about here. What the fuck?
But legally remain on shaky ground. Without solid evidence and willingness to negotiate, their case risks being seen as more about dissatisfaction than lawful termination, which weakens their position in the courtroom. Ador's defense has consistently focused on the factual, contractual, and financial realities of their relationship with Newjeans. They argue that despite leadership changes, they have fulfilled all contractual duties, including significant financial investments totaling around 21 billion won for debut activities and over 12 billion won paid in settlements since late 2023. And with all this, it demonstrates Ador's commitment to the group's success, contradicting any claims of abandonment or breach.
That's true,
Moreover,
because they
Ador
continue to
points out
send the
the
checks.
Yeah.
inconsistency in Newjeans' claims by highlighting the group's continued ability to perform and succeed, which suggests that the agency's management and support remain effective. Which is critical because it undermines the claim that Min Hee-jin's removal destroyed the agency's capacity to manage the group. Ador's side also made it clear that Newjeans keeps shifting their narrative. First, it was about trust. Then it was about management failure. Now it's about emotional severance. At some point, you have to ask, is this a genuine grievance or a slow burn PR strategy to exit the company cleanly while playing victim? Because from a distance, it's starting to look like the latter. Also, Ador's raising a huge red flag about Newjeans using possibly illegally obtained evidence linked to another scandal involving Min Hee-jin and Source Music. If true, this could discredit Newjeans' entire legal strategy and make the court question their credibility. And despite all this, Ador isn't closed off to settlement talks. Just not until the court finished reviewing everything. That makes them look reasonable and professional, unlike Newjeans' outright rejection of negotiation. From a business and legal perspective, Ador's playing the smart and steady. This part of the case pulls us into an often overlooked but critically important layer of legal warfare: evidence admissibility. Specifically, the issue here revolves around whether certain KakaoTalk messages collected during an entirely separate damages lawsuit between Source Music and Min Hee-jin can be admitted in the Newjeans versus Ador contract case. The question isn't whether the content of those messages is relevant, it's whether the method by which they were obtained meets the legal standard for submission. And that's not a small technicality, it cuts to the heart of how this case will unfold. Newjeans' side, which of course is closely aligned with Min Hee-jin's legal team, is challenging the legitimacy of these messages. Their argument is straightforward. These KakaoTalk conversations were legally collected, and therefore, any attempt to introduce them should be dismissed outright. They even pointed out that the court overseeing the Source Music versus Min Hee-jin case, the Seoul Western District Court, has already indicated the evidence.
Messages? Do you remember?
Well, I don't know which messages we're talking about, because the messages in Source Music with Min Hee-jin, those I don't exactly remember. But in these messages, well, but I'm assuming these what we're talking about is the whole what's her name? Hani saying, "Oh, it's not a big deal," blah blah blah. Those type of messages. That's what I think we're talking about here. So they want to dismiss those, but
how come they don't say it's like the messages specifically is from Hani then? That's why I'm a little.
I honestly, this person is doing a horrible job describing what happened. I honestly, I don't know.
Was likely illegally collected and is still determining whether it will be allowed in that proceeding. On that basis, Newjeans' team is essentially asking the Central District Court to hold off on using these messages until a final ruling comes down from the Western District Court. It's a procedural strategy, but a valid one if that evidence is disqualified in one court. It naturally weakens its legitimacy in another. On the other hand, Ador insists that nothing about the collection of the KakaoTalk data was illegal. According to them, this was the result of a formal audit conducted by Ador's parent company, and the device from which the messages were retrieved belonged to the company. They argue that the individual who submitted the data did so willingly, which to them affirms the legitimacy of the entire process. From their perspective, the audit was internal and routine, not some covert or invasive maneuver. Even so, they acknowledge that the Western District Court still has to make the call, and the Central Court will then have to independently assess whether to permit the evidence in the Ador versus Newjeans trial. The court made it clear that they are not immediately accepting or rejecting the KakaoTalk records. They want more context. In fact, even if those records are passed over from the Western District Court, they are not automatically admissible. Ador would still have to formally select and submit them, and it's up to the Central Court to evaluate them. That's a crucial distinction. It shows that the court is being deliberate.
In this time, all they did in court was place a request to not have these messages
what
come
it
out.
sounds like. So that's all that happened. Because honestly, that's all I got from this video. That is the same thing that basically happened in Source Talk with versus Min Hee-jin. Not Source Talk, Source Music. Because Min Hee-jin requested to dismiss that. Sounds like Ador Newjeans requested to dismiss that too. So that's all that happened?
You know, that kind of makes sense. You know, the girls weren't there. It was just the attorneys going back and forth with one another. So it's usually like straightforward to the point.
Not reactive, and is aware of the ripple effect these decisions could have on both the current trial and broader public trust. The next hearing is scheduled for July 24th, and following a request from Newjeans' side for more time to present their arguments, the court extended their presentation window to a full hour. So, that's the whole summary of the case.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder what they need more time for.
We'll probably have to do someone else covering this, because I don't. So they waited for a whole month, and all they did was
not much.
All they went at Newjeans just asked for dismissal.
Honestly,
that's all
maybe
fucking happened?
But maybe this is strategic to stall for more time. You know? Can I see the comments? There should be a jump button because this is absolutely ridiculous.
No, this was not it.
Mm.
I'm sorry, guys, to have wasted your time. I did not expect this. I did not learn nothing here. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
I just think they were just
Ridiculous.
stalling for time.
Shout out to all the lawyers for making money, especially
Yeah,
because
damn.
I
Like,
don't.
can you imagine these billable hours another month from now? Not even a month. It's like 2 months.
Shitload of money. Uh, Another thing that happened is that Newjeans' side tried to accuse Ador of media manipulation, and it got dismissed because the judge said claims were too emotional and that Newjeans presented a. Well, there you go. That
Oh,
was
that's
important
the
to
tea.
mention.
Wait, so I
Where was
wonder what was the
that?
example? What did they say? What was
No,
the
because
media
we see like on our
manipulation?
Discord, there's a couple of people that come
Mhm.
in and make their claims that Hybe is manipulating media. Well, there you go. Court said no, they ain't. Well, that was important. Why couldn't you say that in the video? Ador did not fire Min Hee Jin. Ador offered her a position so she could work. No, they did fire her. They just after they fired her, the whole commotion happened and they were offered her a different position. But initially, they did fire her. I'm pretty
If you don't
sure.
have the same position and that was not by choice, that means you were
Yeah,
fired.
they did fire her.
Whoosh. Wow. When the comments do more than the video. Guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord. And as always, share as much kindness as possible.